recorded. Thank you, Jody. All right, it is 6:02 p.m. on September the 19th, Tuesday, and this is the West University Historic Zone Advisory Board. Go ahead and do item 1 on the agenda, which is call to order and roll call. Jim Block.
Present.
Damon Turner.
I'm here.
Rachel Sarah.
Here.
And Rick McDonald present. We have a quorum. Moving on to item 2 on the agenda, approval of the minutes. I hope everybody on the board got a chance to look at the minutes from last time. Can I get a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Jim Block moves to approve.
Rachel Sarah second.
Rachel second. I'm taking notes tonight. All right, all in favor, aye? Aye.
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 Aye, 4. All right, perfect. All right, item 3, call to the audience. Jody, do we have any call to the audience?
We do not.
Okay. And that gets us to the meat of the meeting, item 4. Starting with 4A, 620 North 6th Avenue continued. Who is representing that property?
Hi, everyone. My name is Jose Rincon. I'm the owner of the property, and I want to thank you for giving me this time to try and provide some context around how we got where we are.
Okay, go ahead. Do you need to, I know there's some material that was posted. Do you need to take over the screen and show us anything, or?
Yeah, I would like to. I mean, it's a PDF that I'd like to just scroll through.
Sure. I think.
Yeah,
Jody-
you're co-host, so you can go ahead and share your screen.
Okay, and that assumes that I know how to do that.
So down at the bottom, when all the little things like your mic and your video and stuff pop up, there's a little green one that says share screen. It has a green rectangle with a arrow pointing up.
Okay.
If you click on that, then all the screens that are open will show on there, and you just have to pick the screen that you want to share.
Okay, well, then that's not going to work because I don't have it loaded on this computer unless I try to do that real quick. So
So in lieu of that, I can share my screen for you. And then you can just tell me what page to scroll to.
sure.
If that's okay. Okay, so let me share mine. In theory, I can share mine.
Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen and this is your
Perfect. Okay. So so I'll go ahead and start, but this is a very cool picture that actually Jody sent us, and it's you know, from looking at the cars, I don't know if it's 1920-ish, or you car buffs in the audience might know a little better what year that was, but that gives us a glimpse at not only the property, but of course the balcony and the banister that we're here to discuss. If we go to page 2, so this is the inventory sheet that I guess was used in 1979 that again highlights the banister, because you know it looks to be consistent with what was there in the previous picture. And this came to us from my contractor. I believe Corky Poster found this and sent it through to him. And this makes a couple of references with regards to the architecture, you know, in the physical description. It says Queen Anne influence, and then it's crossed off. It says Victorian. Preceding that, it says mission style. So just so everybody is familiar with what we're talking about. And then the next page. So this is what we bought. We closed on this building in October of last year, so almost a year ago. And obviously, the railing that is there is not what was original, nor in the pictures that we saw, nor conforming, et cetera, et cetera. And I did find a picture from 2003 in MLS with the same railing. So sometime between 1979 and 2003, this is what appeared on the balcony. With regards to once we closed in October, I knew that this is one of the things that we wanted to address. And specifically on the exterior, we wanted to address 4 things, which I think this committee knows about, and that is stucco repair, which was badly peeling, painting. You can see the fascia on the pop-out balcony window there that it was badly peeling as well. I know you guys have discussed the relocation of the front door, which based on the floor plan and based on every other property in the neighborhood, it would be consistent with having it be centered with the stairs leading up to the house. And then the 4th thing was the railing. So in doing our due diligence, in August, we closed in October. In August, I sent an email to the neighborhood association just to make sure there wasn't any outstanding issues, code violations, things we should know about before we closed. I never got a response. And also before we closed, I went to Development Services to inquire about various things, including the 4 things that I mentioned. And as luck would have it, Mr. Michael Taku was there at the desk. They directed me to him. Here's the authority that I should speak to. And so we got some clarity in how the process works. Did we lose the screen? Sorry, I'm not showing
You can
the
see Jody here. Jody, are you still on?
pictures anymore. We lose Jody.
It looks like we lost Jody, who's the historic preservation officer, who's staffing.
And unfortunately, we can't continue. I don't believe we can continue the meeting until we get Jody back.
Problem.
Text her. Apologize for that, Jose.
It is still recording, if that matters.
What the rule is, I mean, the city guideline.
Right, it has to be a
current-
staff member.
It has
yeah.
to be a staff member. So we just kind of lost our quorum. So let's just kind of hold still for a second and let me see if I can text her. Oh, there she is. Okay, coming back. Hey, Jody, welcome back.
Oh, sorry. Something, I'm now on my phone. Something happened to the internet at my house.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think I can bring the plans up on my computer and share them. So if somebody else can do that,
Well,
that would be.
let me see if I can here.
You try and I will try.
I've got them. I can pull them up.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay, thank you.
Can you make me co-host?
Yes, I can do that. There, you are now co-host. Thank you, Rachel.
Okay. Yep, no problem. Okay, we were on
On the next one,
this one.
there.
Okay.
Okay. So, before we closed, as I mentioned, I was at the city. Mr. Taku was there. I reviewed the 4 things that we wanted to do on the exterior, and I was very specific as to the timing. The timing was very sensitive in that this is our place of business. We office out of the upstairs. My wife runs a property management and brokerage company, and I run a staffing company in healthcare. So timing was critical in that we needed to negotiate our occupancy at the previous office where we were leasing. And when I asked how long this takes, I was told 45 to 60 days. Okay. So we closed on October 24th. We negotiated to stay at our old place until January 15th. We submitted on November 8th approval through Alex, whom I think you've met, for the things that we wanted to do. And time went by. The first time I heard from the historic office was on January 18th. On day 70, Mr. Saldate showed up, and there had been, I guess, a complaint from the neighborhood about us working on the roof, us working on the stucco and painting. And I think people were upset that the barrel cactuses went away. We had 110 barrel cactuses. It's down to 10. Just so you're all aware, we actually, a nursery came and got them and harvested them and resold them. We didn't just throw them in the dumpster. And so that was the first that I had heard. The problem is, if you look on the next page, this is what the balcony looked like. If you could look at the next one, and the next one, and the next one. So if you recall, in December, we had an unusual high amount of rain, which created a problem with regards to the roof. We thought we were going to do roof repair. We ended up having to put a whole new roof to protect water intrusion into the building. The stucco continued to peel badly. This is the ceiling underneath the balcony, and into the landing of the front porch. And and I don't think our 4 items came to this committee until sometime in February on day 110. So I just wanted to assure you that it was not an issue of us doing things without permission, without regard to the importance of historic preservation, but we needed to protect our building. And with regard to the banister, there's 2 things happened. One is, you saw the balcony, and the old wrought iron that was there was badly rusted, and we had to take action. So the vendor that we used out of Montana, American Porch, they have done extensive work in historic preservation. They asked me, can you send us, it's a 2-story building, what does the interior banister look like? I send them that. So based on the material that I provided them, they felt comfortable recommending the banister that we used to replace what was there. So we move forward because, again, timing was an issue. This is our place of business. We needed to take action. And, what I'm here is to provide, again, some context as to why we did what we did. What's there is conforming with a style of architecture that exists. The last picture is, kind of a similar railing that is at the Corbett Mansion. Around the building, or from us, around the corner from us, at the corner of University and 6th Avenue, I don't have a picture of that, but the blue house that's there has the same kind of vertical columns that I think somebody described at the last meeting that was discussed as too decorative. I think there was also a concern as to what the material might be and whether or not it holds up through the test of time. I assure you that the material that we used, which is a polyurethane composite is designed to last longer than wood. So that's, you know, why we have done what we've done. And I think the last recommendation was to not allow it. But we're not in a position where we can just scrap a $20,000 investment on what we feel looks a hell of a lot better than what was there previously. I'm not making the argument that it's the exact same thing that was there 100 years ago or even 40 years ago, but it looks a lot more than the original picture of, you know, 1920 or whenever that was. Okay, yeah. If you could zoom in on that, those are, you know, painted but vertical columns that have the same kind of design, decorative design that we've used, and that's in the neighborhood. Corbett Mansion, as you know, is downtown, and you know, I have found numerous references as to Mission, Revival, Queen Anne, Victorian, and the three consistent banisters that keep coming up is similar design to what we used, similar design that what was there originally, and a lot of wrought iron renditions of decorative wrought iron, not what was there previously when, you know, when we bought the building. So that's, you know, that's where we are. In my research, I did not find neither a request for a permit nor a code enforcement violation for the balcony railing that was there when we bought the building for the last 20 years. And so I, you know, knowing that, I think it, you know, well, not in my opinion, but what everybody has told us, it looks so much better than it did before. It still maintains with the historic preservation umbrella. We humbly request and ask that you approve our balcony banister.
Sorry, I was just writing a few notes down. All right, well, thank you for that. I guess a couple of comments first off, and then I want to kind of open it up to the board for conversation. Yeah, I'm sorry. It sounds like you had a understanding of how long the process was going to take that didn't manifest itself into the way the process really played itself out, and that I know can happen from time to time, sometimes maybe more frequently than we like. The purpose of this particular review that you're in right now sort of stands independent of the city's timelines and all that. It's really the members of this board looking at this one individual property in the context of the neighborhood, for true, and in the context of what was the intent when the building was built by the architect and what was in the actual historic inventory for SHPO. I also appreciate the urgency that you had when you moved into the place with the, you know, the state of the roof, the state of the balcony, the state of things that were in disrepair, and you know, the urgency that drove you to. You know, all that said, this particular panel is here to really kind of look at what exterior design, what exterior changes, materials or otherwise, to this building makes sense in the context of this building, in the context of the period it was built, in the context of what the intent of the architect was for historical preservation. Now, you know, for example, pointed out the blue building on University. It's a completely different context, totally. It's totally different architecture, totally different design. And while you can accurately say that the railings around it are more contoured and such. That's consistent with that particular building design. What we look at in the case of your particular property is what was the original design the architect had in mind, the architect actually did. And in going back to the conversation about moving the front door, for example, I think most of the members of this board, if not all the people that are online right now, we initially had this picture that's being shown online with the inventory sheet, but somehow or another, one of the gentlemen that was presenting to us was able to find historical evidence to present to us that the door probably wasn't there in the first place, right? And that's actually what the tipping point for us was, to say, yeah, you know what, we're okay with moving that. The design and the specific design of the railing, of the balusters and the posts and everything, we're looking at, what evidence do we have of what was originally there? And it's, as far as I can tell, it's not what you have today. Now that you felt you had to do something faster than the review process allowed. I appreciate that you had you mentioned a company from another state suggest matching the railings on the interior of the house. That would have been a good conversation to have had with us prior to doing it, but I'm not entirely sure, looking at the photographic evidence that we have and understanding the architecture of this building, that it would have been persuasive prior to you having done that work. Now, having said that, I'm going to kind of back off for a moment. Rachel and Damon and Jim, I mean, what are your thoughts on what you've heard?
Yeah, this is Damon. I'll speak up. I agree with what you said. I mean, we're not I appreciate the position you're in. I'm a resident in the neighborhood as well. This board only has a certain purview, and our purview is really to evaluate changes people are proposing to the exterior of their building, and we're supposed to be evaluating it a priori. So it gets into bad situations when people make a change without having our approval beforehand. And so while, as a human, we feel bad about that, our job is to review it as if it was proposed a priori. And I'm personally not an architect, but we have architects on the board who can better than I comment on, the expected architectural details for a building like this. And I think we went through that as Rick pointed out. We were initially a little skeptical on moving on the front door, but we were able to find evidence. I think it was your contractor who found the evidence that it probably was originally in the center, and that was convincing enough for us. I think originally there was no real evidence on what the railing was, but we were skeptical of the design, and then I think someone was able to unearth this photo, which I think conflicts with the claim, if that's the claim that you're making, that the railing that you currently have installed is kind of appropriate to the original intent of the building. And so, like I said, our job is to evaluate it as if it's proposed a priori, and I think we wouldn't have approved it.
I guess I do have a question though, because I think you can appreciate the mixed messages of that the original is not what was existing. So how is this not in compliance, but what's shown on the previous picture is? And there's no mention of any code violation, any permit.
Yeah, these things tend to come up when people make. Oh, I'm sorry. Was someone saying something?
No, I muted because my family is.
Oh, okay.
around.
Sorry. Yeah, I mean, I agree that from your perspective, that would seem unfair, but these things tend to come up when someone proposes a new change. I don't know when that other railing was installed. I don't think anybody else on this board does. I don't know if there's record of it, but I don't think we would have approved that either, to be honest.
No, we wouldn't.
But that's part of the problem. And I think, I mean, to be honest with you, I think I sort of wish real estate agents would do a better job of telling people about some of these limitations when people purchase buildings in historically zoned neighborhoods, but they don't, of course. So you're not the first person to be surprised by this process, and it is unfortunate when it happens. So I don't think I'm going to be able to say anything that's going to make you feel better, but yeah, we probably wouldn't have approved that railing either, given
Right.
the evidence we have today.
Right. And that no one made that you can't find evidence of of a code violation, only speaks to, that maybe nobody ever, someone made a change, kind of like you in this particular case, made a change without going through an approval process. And no one ever, in this case of what you're showing us right now, what's being shown right now, was never reported.
Yeah, the other thing that's, I can't remember what the inventory form shows, or maybe you can't tell in the inventory form, but was that railing there when the building was
the inventory
inventoried?
form. Yeah, Damon, we actually went through that. You may remember the inventory form. We
Oh,
actually,
yeah, I do.
right there. Yeah, it's the original.
Yeah, it's just hard to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we zoomed this thing. We actually, I think I remember somebody, it might have been Rachel, actually did a very interesting juxtaposition of this with the current design to try and do a little bit more analysis. But
Yeah, I recall now.
yeah,
And I
Yeah, I
think
mean-
really, because I know we went back and forth a lot when we've discussed it in the past meetings, was sort of the proportions and whether these particular columns up here were round or square. And I know my opinion was, I don't really care if they're round or square, they just need to be about the same size. And I just think that they're too big right now. So they just are really out of proportion. I feel like they shouldn't be bigger than what's below them. And even if they're the same size as what's below them right now, it just feels off. And as Rick and Damon have both mentioned, it's, as much as your journey through the system has been unfortunate, I can say as an architect working in this city, that's pretty common. It's not a fun process to go through all the time.
I appreciate what you're saying. The frustration is that when you have a senior employee that works in the historic realm and it's clear that is represented 45 to 60 days. I didn't know that was a moving target, and then it's compounded by the mixed message of it would have been better had I just done it and not even put it on your radar, as the previous owner before us did. So,
to be clear, we're not advocating for that, just in case.
I know, but
well, in fact, you
process.
did do it and not put it on our radar, and then it became a code violation, and it got on our radar. I mean, honestly, you did the change without going through the process. And believe me, I'm not lecturing you in any way, but it's the same thing. In this particular case, it's a very visible building, and it got noticed. And the neighborhood is probably more diligent than it was back in 1985 or whenever that wrought iron railing was on. I simply don't know. I can't speak to that. But a lot of work was being done. It was very obvious work was being done. You had crews there doing exterior work and roof work and whatnot. So it got attention. And it was brought to the attention of the city, and the city said, you bypassed the process. So now it comes before us. And to the point Damon was making a moment ago, this board doesn't have the latitude, luxury, or ability to say, well, given that you already did it and it's not horrible, I guess we'll let it pass. It's really our responsibility to treat everything brought before us, whether it has been done or hasn't been done, as if it is being presented as a thing to be done. And would we approve it, or would we approve it given our historic guidelines? And the answer is no, we wouldn't, for a variety of reasons that have been discussed a number of times. And I do understand that you have invested already a certain amount of money in having this railing installed. That cannot and does not factor into the conversation that we're having tonight with this particular board. Now, I'm going to kind of call on Jody here in a second. I will say this is an advisory board. We don't have final say. This goes before the Tucson, after us, whether we say yes or no, you can bring it up to the Tucson-Pima County Historic Commission Plans Review Subcommittee and get their take on it. And they make a recommendation, and it's all recommendations that go to Planning and Development Services, to Jody's boss's boss. And it has happened that our saying yes or no, or our saying no, has been overruled. But I think you're kind of hearing from the board members here that we've said no more than once, and an appreciation of the circumstances that got you here is a series of events that really aren't part of our consideration process in the first place. And I'm not trying to be snarky or anything. I'm just saying that from a historic preservation of this particular building and the review that we are chartered to go look at, that railing is not something we would have approved.
I understand your position, and I'm not here to beat a dead horse, but
Yeah.
I do need this board to make a recommendation, yes or no, so that we can.
Okay, so we can do that, absolutely, and perhaps we should go ahead and do that, and then after that, for your benefit, because I think this is the first time you've been with us, I can ask Jody to tell you what the next steps might be.
Haven't we already done that?
Well, no, actually, technically, no, Damon, because we left the last meeting as a continuance.
Got it.
Right. So, given the request, may I have a motion from the board?
Yeah, I'll make a motion. This is Damon. I motion to deny the request as presented.
Do I have a second?
Hey, Damon. Oh, sorry. Do your second first.
Thank you.
This is Rachel Sarah, I second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Discussion?
Damon, can you, because you have two motions, can you actually amend your motion to clarify that it's specifically for the railing?
Oh, I thought we'd approved everything else.
Well, you approved at the last one, you approved the door. So just so it's clear that it's
Just
for the
the
railing.
railing? Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay.
let's do that again.
Yeah. All right, this is Damon. I'd like to amend my motion to deny the railing that's been presented.
And this is Rachel Sarah, I second.
Okay,
Thank you.
we have a motion, we have a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
I,
So Jody, for the benefit of the applicant, maybe you could explain the next steps?
If I may ask before, that'll be helpful with your Jody, but can I get some clarification on where we are with the door?
We approved the door.
They recommended approval of the door, but both of these items still have to go to the plans review subcommittee. So that's your next step. I'll work on getting you docketed for the plans review subcommittee. The subcommittee is 6 members now. They are members of the Tucson Pima County Historical Preservation Commission, and they have an architect, architectural historian, there's a planner, there's an archaeologist. They meet twice a month on the 2nd and the 4th Thursday of the month at 1 p.m. And all advisory boards and other items go to them. So I'll let you know when I can get you docketed. But it's the same idea that you present your project to them. They haven't seen your project. So you're going to want to present your whole project. And they will also make a recommendation. Both of those recommendations will be forwarded to the director, as Rick said, and the director will issue a decision letter. From the date of the decision letter, you have 14 days to appeal. If you appeal, there is a fee and it goes to mayor and council. And mayor and council then will decide whether or not to uphold the appeal or not. And then once that is satisfied, depending on what happens, you can get the permit issued and be with permit or correct the work, however it is.
Okay.
Hey, Rick, for
Yeah.
the benefit of the applicant, I don't know if we're allowed to continue to discuss this, but I think it might be worth telling them what would have been more likely to be approved. Can we do that?
Yeah, because we already have on several occasions.
Okay.
So,
Well, there's one subject that didn't come up that I think might be worth bringing up. So I think Rachel did a good job of describing what we would have expected in terms of like trying to base proportions off of evidence of what the original design was. The one thing that didn't come up is the material. So I'm not
that's true.
sure.
Nobody
I
came
honestly
up
don't.
with this.
Yeah, I don't know if we
Yeah.
would have approved polyurethane under a lot of normal circumstances. I think we asked people to try to match existing materials, which of course would have been wood. So it, just in case this goes down a path of you need to look at something that would pass our board, I think it might be worth giving feedback on material.
Yeah, that's a good point. In fact, my memory may be wrong, but I thought that we asked and were told that that railing, the one that's there now, was wood. Jim's nodding his head yes.
I don't remember whether that was the case, but I can say from the standpoint of an architect, having wood so exposed is not great, even if it's painted. So if the proportions were correct and we were given a good sample to look at, a potential other material has the potential of being approved. So I don't want you to think, oh, you only have to do wood. It's sort of a case by case basis. But you need to be able to make that argument.
Right.
With regards to the proportions, just to clarify, is it the columns that you feel are
I think, yeah. So if we have look at the photo that's up right now, you can see how much smaller these are. You see how much smaller they are than the columns that are below them. And then it seems like these vertical pickets really don't have a lot of ornamentation to them.
They don't have any. I mean, we looked at
Right.
that
They just
pretty
look like
carefully.
straight square pickets
They're
to
straight.
me. And we had a lot of conversation of whether these are square or round. To me, that was not as relevant as the size. What was built, I mean, these are huge. They just are really, really big.
And the ornamentation that you see even in
Yeah,
this
the
picture,
insets, all the recesses,
right.
and then all the curvature and everything on these. It's just a lot. I mean, you can see it. It's almost easier to see it in the shadow. All of the crenellations and everything are just not, it's just competing a lot with the actual house itself. And I think that's probably part of why we're so opposed to it. And a lot of people might not be able to put their thumb on why they don't like it. But I think that because it's so ornate,
Right,
it really takes away from this facade.
right. And the columns on the first floor, by comparison, are very, more simplistic. They're round. So, if you were round with the balusters and round with the pickets, maybe that'd be okay, because the original picture can't tell. But there's a clear difference, a significant difference between the level of you can go back to that house if you want, but that's a different house.
Right. And so what I was going to say is when you look at this house has a simple roof and the ornamentation is in the porch. That's why these columns and these are in that way. It has the dental mold, it has all of these details because the rest of it is so simple. Whereas when we're looking at this, that's what's supposed to be the presence here, not the baluster.
So with regards to what was there previously, and if cost is going to be an issue, am I allowed to replace it with what was there?
No. This would
Unfortunately,
not be approved either, and it was not approved. And so had work been done and somebody called in the code violation, who this previous owner would have been made to go through the same process you are, they just didn't get caught.
Okay,
Sorry to be the bearer of bad news.
you're doing your
and
job.
actually, if you had, I'm sure that railing was in bad shape from everything you've described. But once you touch something, we kind of have to look at it as if it's a whole new proposal. If you hadn't changed it, if you hadn't taken it out and just said, I'm going to leave it the way it is, which probably you didn't want to do for safety reasons, we wouldn't have had any authority. This board wouldn't have had any authority to do anything about it. Now, the city may still have called it out as a code violation, but we wouldn't have been able to weigh in on that. If I understand our charter correctly, Jody.
If it got caught by the city, it would still get routed to you because it's a code enforcement issue. And ultimately,
Yeah, if it had. But if you just brought us only the door movement, we could have said, hey, that railing looks kind of crappy, but it wouldn't have been on our agenda unless the city put it on our agenda.
yeah, unless he was asking to replace it. So if he had just
Yeah.
wasn't it, then it was, yeah.
Right.
Okay,
In the event that you are asked to replace what's there, do you feel like you have enough information to come up with something that would be approved by this board?
yes.
Okay.
I'll try and articulate as best I can what we're talking about in the minutes of the meeting, the law of the meeting. Because I think we've already done that a couple of times. I can resurrect that. Okay.
I said, I'm not here to beat a dead horse. I just need to move through the process.
Nope, I totally
Not
understand that.
because I want to, but I just can't justify scrapping $20,000 investment.
That's not our call, so I appreciate it. But as Damon said, we're humans. We live in this neighborhood. Actually, 3 of us live physically in the neighborhood and have all done work in our homes. Rachel's an architect who's worked in this neighborhood. We understand, but within the boundaries of what we're saying, it's probably better that you called for a vote. We gave you a vote. Take it on to the historic commission
And you were still able to plead your case in front of them, and the ultimate
Right.
decision is with the director, not, we're just advisory boards. So,
Okay, thank you.
okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you. And best of luck.
Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. Okay. That brings us to item 4B on the agenda, which is 220
Here, I'm
East.
turning my camera on, okay?
Okay, 220 East Speedway. Randall, are you going to be speaking?
Yeah, I think Maritza and I are both probably going to talk a little bit because I
Okay.
tend to forget a lot of things. That's a joke, but you know. How, if there any format, you want me to just kind of introduce the project, or do you guys familiar with what we're trying to accomplish?
Well, we have the material that was submitted, which in all likelihood, everyone on the board has had a chance to at least scan. And you certainly can put some of that material on the screen if you want to walk us through some of it, and just kind of familiarize us with the project, what you're asking for. That would be good. I think Jody can give you control of the screen if you want to just
Yeah,
call it out.
Maritza, do you have the file up, or would you? Because I think we had some issues, like many of us, with the new submittal system, with some things getting lost in the ether, or not made, into the proper folders. And I think, Maritza, you and Jody just worked something out with the current stuff that was supposed to be in, or?
Yes, and she also mentioned that we could put stuff up. I have
Okay.
the file open.
Whatever
Okay.
you're.
All right. Maritza, why don't you share your screen and bring the file up, and I can do some talking.
Which
Jen-
one do you want, the PDF file? Is that easier for you, or?
Whatever you want to control. If you want to control the live Vectorworks file, I mean, I don't care. Why don't you, Maritza, why don't you bring up the PDFs that were submitted? I'll keep it.
Okay.
And generally, I think as you guys probably have seen, as you got your head around sort of the general idea, our client actually was a long-term tenant in this building for many years, and recently made the decision to purchase it. At the end of last year, they did, and we're pretty well versed in, I think, in the timelines and understanding what the various layers of these approvals are. And that's, we have gotten through the first, the site meeting. We're here now with you guys. Our development plan is being reviewed. There's some other architectural and building plans that are being reviewed. And understanding, we need to go through this process as well and get your guys' recommendation and thoughts on where we are and what we're trying to accomplish. For the exterior of the building, the main drivers behind what we're trying to do for our client, which is what their wish was to, make the building look better than it was, while respecting, the neighborhood and respecting the various historic styles that have sort of been discussed around the building. And then also they wanted to bring a level of some security and safety for their workforce in there, their employees. I think everybody knows that, especially in that location, there's some vagrant problems, some homelessness problems there. Actually just got an email yesterday. There's a rock thrown through their window and tried to steal some stuff out of the front. Maritza, did you see that?
No.
Velia sent an email, Tim forwarded to me. And so, that was really the driver for the client, was they wanted to start off by putting a fence, a decorative fence around the property, to try and limit some of that. This is our site and development plan. And we wanted to do a low masonry wall along Speedway, like you see everywhere, kind of along Speedway, with the decorative iron fence on top or right behind it. And we were originally going to the client wants a 6-foot security fence. It's decorative, which I believe we have
We're asking for that.
Yeah, we're asking for the 6 feet. Sorry. We were originally going with the 4 feet. We know that that's what's allowed. And we would like to request the 6 feet for just for the added layer of security, if that's something that could be entertained. The client has also directed us, they have access control with cameras and some remote operating stuff that happens that can be controlled by their headquarters in Seattle or by the staff that's in the building, so they can monitor who's coming on and off the site well. So that was sort of the original driver. And then as we got into the project, when they were going to purchase the building, they wanted to just clean up sort of the site and its presence. The parking lot really hasn't been maintained, and we didn't really think in compliance. The original layout wasn't really a very good one. And we knew as soon as we were Maritza, your email's up on the screen.
It is.
Yes.
All right. got the screen?
Yeah, I'm seeing your email and you're covering the PDF with your email.
Hold on.
I'm not.
How
I'm-
that,
You're not?
All I see is the PDF.
yeah,
Okay, weird. Okay,
Yes,
then
same.
I'm back. Thank you. Something happened over on my end. That's weird. Okay, so we are bringing the site also back into compliance. Marisa, this is the, oh, you have the old striping underneath.
Yeah.
And we've suggested, originally it was just gonna be a repair and restripe. The client also then has requested, since they purchased the building and they like to hold on to their real estate, they said for 30 to 50 years, so they make a strong commitment. And we're tearing up the old asphalt and asphalting, replacing, making sure that it's a good sub base and it's a better, cleaner look and safer for everybody walking. There was not real good handicap access previously, although there was handicap access. It just wasn't very convenient, and just not convenient is a better word, and not real dignified for anybody trying to use the building. So the other aspect of the parking lot change, we've got some new accessible spaces closer to a path, an access path. We're also on the front porch, which is currently exists. We're adding a ramp, ADA compliant ramp up to the porch from east end to west. So it kind of balances the front of the building, and we're continuing that railing, a safety railing that's would be required on that porch edge, north porch edge. So that on the site, there's also just some cleanup, some maintenance of the landscaping that has been done. Trim some trees that were dangerous, that were knocking with the power lines in the south. There's going to be some little more additional landscaping that we have shown on the Speedway side and along the edges. Let's see, the building itself, we want to replace all of the doors and exterior windows. They want to repaint the building. We're doing some stucco repair. There's not a whole lot of that has to happen, but there's some. We have, and I think in our packet, we have shown the color choices that we're suggesting that I think are very similar to some of the buildings that are in the immediate area. And beyond that, we're not really trying to change the style. We're not adding any square feet or any additional footprint, to the building. Not changing its height. Again, just trying to refresh what's there, trying to bring it back up to, a standard that looks safe, looks clean, looks occupied, and looks appropriate for where it's at and for its own historical style and its presence. Rich, anything else to add there?
Not really. That, again, there was a lot of work that has been done to the building prior to these owners doing it, and they wanted to do appropriately and
Yeah.
go through the right channels, through you guys, through the city, through the, everything. So that's why we started this process quite a while ago also, but it
I think we had some more realistic expectations than the last person. On the contrary, the inquiries that we made when we started entering this process, we thought we had a pretty realistic expectation of the timelines that are required. I will make a comment. One of the comments is, and perhaps you guys can help shed light on that, that the inventory form, and as a lot of historic buildings in Tucson, I'm a native here, went to architecture school here as well as my father's a native here, and just through the years, the various styles and the various different historic styles have been applied. Sometimes multiple styles in one building is what gives a lot of these buildings their interesting qualities, and like this building, I think that we could all sit around and share drinks and talk about which one is the most prevalent style on it and which one needs to be sort of enhanced, so I'm kind of really anxious to kind of get your feedback on some of that. We've chosen maybe the one point that would be worthy of some discussion will come up is the the window mullion pattern and the door mullion pattern. Maybe the one thing that to us wasn't real clear as to far what would be appropriate. My take was that there was a lot of sort of these craftsman interior sort of feel and detail, sort of some prairie school kind of stuff happening on the inside. The client really liked that, wanted to amplify some of that. And that's why we chose these mullion patterns on the doors and the windows. So that I think maybe and you guys are seeing, I'm sure, other things that we'll need to discuss, but those are I think the big things that we need to do, and I hope that gives you sort of an overall picture of what we're trying to accomplish.
Okay, thank you. I didn't see in the package, just, I'm gonna begin with where you ended. And I can't really tell from these photographs. What do the current windows and doors look like from them?
Well, there's 4 or 5 different kinds on the building.
Yeah,
And
I appreciate that.
what's facing Speedway is, I think, more of your standard like 10 light French door that looks like it's been, I don't know, painted there. Can you
Oh, I
zoom
see
in
it.
there? You see
Yeah,
that?
you can see it.
And a lot of this stuff, it looks like some of it from what we did a little interior exploration with our contractor, and it looks like you go and we peeled back some of the casings and some of the sheetrock, and you can see some of the original frames in there, and
Mhm.
new windows were set in those frames, you know, like the old replacement windows. Um, so that's point of discussion. Feedback's valuable on this, and we're trying to bring a consistency to it. And like that door, that shouldn't even be there. I mean, we're
Those
kind
were
of putting
windows and they were covered
yeah,
up with
they
a
were
door
covered up.
and plywood right there.
Yeah, and we're replacing that as a window. And I think originally this part, as long as we're here, this part of the photograph you see with the red door,
Mhm.
this was the original. It was like a carport a carport that was enclosed from the original. I think it happened in the 70s. And then there was a little breezeway, but I think the main structure is that taller parapet to the north. And this other stuff was sort of additions. And over the year, I mean, they did an okay job bringing it all together and making it look consistent. But I think that's some of the details, like the arch, the inset arches and stuff, aren't on that other addition to the south.
Mhm. You're talking about doing a perimeter security fence. Are you intending to keep the security bars on the
Oh,
windows?
no, that was thank you. No, that was one of the reasons to put the fence up. Actually, we were hoping that we could get rid of that. That is the intention of the client. They didn't want that either. And so that's where, and I should have mentioned that's where some of that limited stucco repair is going to probably have to happen. Mainly there where we have a pretty good method, nothing's 100% of how we're going to remove and replace. But it should be with little damage. We're going to try and do that from the inside. But yes, all of the security iron is out.
So I see an ADA ramp in the picture you're just scrolling past.
Yep.
You're intending to put ADA ramps on the Speedway side as well? Or are they
Yes.
not?
Yes, under the existing porch canopy.
Okay, so it's not there now.
There's
Yeah.
stairs
There is
there.
a ramp here in the front of this.
Yeah, there is.
Which
Oh, there
is
is.
not really
I
compliant.
think the client they removed that one when they did some maintenance around the building, some
Mhm.
cleanup. But yeah, there's I think 30-inch difference on the west side to there, and then a little less from the east side up. And part of it is they're having their ADA or their special needs type clients having to come in on that side out of that it's a tough way to get to the building for anybody, but if you have any special needs, it's really tough. So they wanted to bring a little more dignity, get them parked right up against that on that north side, and then bring them up through the main front door, the main entrance.
Okay. So
Can you go back to a site plan and show us where the fence is? And can you clarify what the materials of the fence are and what the heights are and where?
Sure.
Sorry about this.
All right. At least it's all there.
Oh, yeah, well, and because your the requirements for this are different. For you it was elevations and site plan, so this is our whole architectural building
Yeah.
set, so.
So what we're requesting is along Speedway. It's a 2-foot tall stuccoed masonry wall painted to match the building with a 4-foot tall decorative iron fence it'll be a black iron fence is a
Straight
similar, there's a,
pickets.
straight pickets. And then as it turns to the south on both the east and west side, that same fence will continue at 6 feet tall without the masonry wall. And then there's a rolling gate right where your hand cursor is there. There's a rolling gate over here and up north right here. So there's a one-way pattern over there to come in and out. So we again kind of bring a little more, it was a little willy-nilly on that side. It's hard to figure out which way to come in and out. There's also a man gate coming in off of Fifth, and you don't have that sidewalk in there, do you?
Yeah,
Um,
sir.
Oh, there it is. Sorry, there's a man gate with control access there and a Knox box lock on it. Coming in there is one coming in north from Speedway as well, with a man gate and access control, and they're going to have some cameras and stuff on those points as well.
Cool.
So we're 6 feet on the east and west sides, and then it changes to 4 feet on top of the 2-foot masonry wall.
So
What about
you
on the south
suggest
side?
is- Yeah,
Pardon me?
The south side, is there a fence on the south side?
Oh, there's an existing masonry wall for the neighbor right there.
Right
And
there.
these are decorative iron fences with some screen for the garbage cans, with limited access back into here. This is where the meters are. They've had to upgrade their fire services, their alarms, all those other things that happens back in here.
Are you
But yeah,
pointing with
this-
something?
Point for me, Marisa, where are the meters? Show 'em, kind of like the meters and the access control and stuff is there, and then right on the south of the building as well.
All the power stuff.
Yeah, back in there, and it's an overhead service comes in right in the middle of the building, and then on that property line, it's a masonry wall. There's some various landscape and stuff that's happening in front of that wall that I believe is on the other property.
But for your project, we're just talking about putting in the east, west, and north wall.
Yes,
And
correct.
to clarify, so I met with Maurizia on site for a minor review, not review. And she was talking about the fence, and I think doing, our rules are, only 4 feet on the front side, and I actually was kind of pushing her to ask for the 6 feet and to keep, because I think the biggest issue in general is
Security.
we want to be able to see, security, but we want to be able to see the
building.
historic property. And so I
Okay.
think by keeping the masonry to 2 feet and everything above that still being see-through kind of meets the idea of our code or our guidelines. And I just kind of wanted to tell the board that.
And if I could amplify that a little bit too, I wanted to, you guys may have noticed that when they did take the property over, there was like a big, the big square dumpsters that was kind of in the north west corner of the property up by the bus stop. And that was like a magnet for some of the homeless folks. And as soon as they took over the building, they got rid of that dumpster and went to the APCs, the roll-offs that they keep in the back of the building. And for some reason that really helped the situation a lot. But it didn't solve it. So
No.
he's been trying to do what he can, least invasive, very sensitive to it. Their headquarters are in Seattle and they work in LA and they work in like Dallas and San Antonio, and they have the same issues everywhere they go. And he's tried to, again, they're trying to, be human about it and as least invasive as they can. So they're trying all sorts of just psychological tricks to try and, remove some of the barriers. But God, it's so dang hot, and this great porch, it offers some good cover and all that kind of stuff. And it's on the north side of the building. So, I mean, you can't do much when they're really trying to get in there. But when day before yesterday, when that rock was thrown in the building and, they're reaching in, trying to grab bags for the kids and things like this, it's just, something's got to happen. So we would thank you, Rachel, for bringing that up, because we told our client that that's what the rules were. It's only gonna be 4 feet. And he goes, well, just go for the 4 feet. It'll help. And so Rachel did suggest that we ask for the 6 feet for that reason only, mostly for security for the employees in there, but also maybe just to create a bigger psychological barrier for any homeless folks trying to get in there.
I have some questions.
Sure.
Hey, Jim, go ahead.
So I noticed the right-of-way line is quite a bit south of where your proposed fence line is.
Yes. I can speak to some of that.
Well, no, let me just make my comments, please.
Sure. Sure.
You know, there's that sidewalk there is up against the curb. I've walked my dog there, and you don't want, I cut through your property because I don't want to be that close to Speedway. I think you have an opportunity to make an improvement to the pedestrian environment, and that's not necessarily our purview by any means. I just need to make that comment. Secondly, it doesn't look like there was ever a historical pony wall or basalt wall or whatever on this property, whereas to the west,
Oh, yeah.
east, you see that. And so I don't know if that's necessarily something that I would see added in that respect. And then finally, and this is switching off to an earlier image where you showed an elevation where some of the windows had sills and others didn't. And I was curious whether you would be adding sills to those other windows or not. And I kind of defer to the board whether or not that's appropriate to even ask for addition of sills where they aren't present currently. So with that, I guess I'm supportive of 6-foot fence. I am supportive of moving the fence south off of Speedway, and I would leave it to the more architecturally attuned members of the board to comment on whether sills on the windows that don't have sills today is an appropriate ask.
Hey, Jim, can I ask? I just want to thank you for that, because you do bring up a good point about Speedway, and since you do use it and you walk it a lot, you're probably the best person to ask. What kind of relief would you like to feel there? You know, if we were to
as much as you're willing to offer,
much as we can give you.
Let's step back. I mean, you're the architects, I'm not. What's the better feeling? Is to have no fencing and then some security closer to the building, or away from the building and then having this no man's zone between your walking areas and your columns, and then this area that, you know, granted some future property owner may not be as diligent as this current one maintaining it, and it looking, I don't know, I'm just, and
because
what
it's
happens
funny
if it ever does get widened?
Exactly. And you have a great point, because Maurice and I were walking around taking pictures and doing what we're doing for the presentation. We're walking, you know, to the east along there, and I think there's that picture. Yeah, all that. And I hear you. I mean, we were kind of like, you know, sort of wanting to tuck up against those fences as you're walking along Speedway, right? That's sort of that initial feeling. So, you know, and it's interesting because we're having, and I appreciate you said it's not part of the purview here, but we also we're in a discussion with our development plan, because you know there's several different comments about it being in the right of way, and everyone recognizes there is work in the right of way, and there's got to be work in the right of way for various things. But one of the things that we were going to offer was exactly what you just touched on, Jim, and I don't know the answer yet, but we were going to say to them, you know, we understand that, you know, we are in the right of way, we're going to be getting a right of way use permit for this work, and perhaps we want to find a quote, a compromise to pull some of that work down from the sidewalk some. And how much, you know, I don't know, I'll talk to our client about it. We'll maybe just kind of feel it, you know, and make sure there's enough room to walk a dog and pass another person, you know, kind of thing comfortably. But that discussion is still going to be had, or we're waiting on some comments back on the development plan, but I think that's going to come up as one of the potential solutions or compromises.
Again, I lived next to this property for over 30 years, and I liked its space to Speedway, and the more transparent your security can be, the better. And the little 2-foot masonry wall, or you know, and I would, if there was still a request on the other members of the board for that little 2-foot wall, I would want to mimic a basalt wall or something, as opposed to just stucco CMU. But I think just a nice wrought iron fence that gives you the security you need, because we all know that it's a very, very problematic neighborhood, I mean, environment here, and then giving a little bit more a sense of space for pedestrians who do happen to travel there would be beneficial, but
I think
I'm gonna refer my allow the other board members who are
Okay.
more knowledgeable than I on both our purview and architectural features to weigh in now. Those are my two thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you.
I would have two comments on that. One, I would say don't do the basalt at all because it wasn't here and I wouldn't want it to be here. Because it would not be genuine. And then the second would be in terms of how much space you might be willing to give to a more sidewalk buffer. I mean, just the architect in me says, give them one parking spot. Like just the width of a parking spot, because
Like
that's, you
8
know,
feet. That feels
Yeah.
right, doesn't it?
So-
All
you
right.
know what I mean? Like in
Yeah,
terms
down
of,
here somewhere.
yeah, so that would be my only, I mean, and it doesn't look like you're really doing any parking up there
No.
No.
like
all
there
that
currently is.
landscaping.
So
Yeah, that I should have mentioned that too, right? We purposefully have pulled down all that asphalt out of there and tried to, again, there'll be some extra landscaping, different things to give that more of a presence on the front instead of the asphalt up there. Thank you for that. And the client, originally, it's funny, you guys dealt with architect types a lot, right? Rachel, you are one. I don't know who else is one, but my original, I was the guy pushing the basalt wall. And everyone's
Yeah.
going,
Yeah.
everyone's telling me, yeah,
Sorry.
do the basalt wall. And then and we went to this, and the client is actually, I think he would be very happy to just leave it as the decorative iron, transparent. I really
Yeah.
do. And I think that we could go ahead and make that decision right now. I don't think that wall is anything that's necessary, and we appreciate the comment back because Jim, you're right. I don't know what it looked like before. What we were trying to do is say if we do want to have that to kind of match the character of what else is around the area, we're just going to stucco it to match the building. That was sort of the decision. So I would tell you all that now that we would remove that low wall.
Make
And
those
that
6
won't,
footers.
yeah, just leave the 6-foot decorative fence around the property. If that's amenable to you all.
I see no issue with that.
I agree.
I agree too. And I'll add my voice that for security reasons, all the reasons you've talked about, I think this board is fine with 6 feet.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And
Go
it's,
ahead.
I mean, it's sort of similar when I was talking to Maritza when we met, and what I mentioned to the last presenter was, I mean, show us your case, the rules are there to be broken a little, and if you have a good,
I'll remember you said that.
We have it recorded.
yes, they're meant to be broken with permission.
I mean, full transparency, we've drafted a new set of guidelines that may or may not ever get approved, but the new set of guidelines did allow 6 feet in the front
Okay.
yard.
Yeah,
Cool.
And we've approved
It's
6
not,
foot.
it's not like we've never
Okay.
discussed this before.
Well,
yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, and those are sort of the main elements. And so welcome any other comments and any other questions
Can
that
we
we can
go
answer.
back to, I think what Jim had a question on was like the sills, which windows
Oh.
have them and why or why not? I didn't catch that. so
I don't think I've put any, oops, oh, wrong one.
Yeah, there's existing sills on the original building, I think, and then on that
I did
addition.
not put them in on
Oh,
our drawings.
we didn't model those. All the existing ones are gonna stay.
Yeah. everything's big.
We're not suggesting to remove anything.
No. Yeah.
Okay,
all
I think
this
that
is-
would be our recommendation or comment would be if there's a sill, keep it.
Oh, yeah.
That's with the intention.
Oh, definitely keep those.
So help me here really quick. There's a sill between the garbage cans and or no sill between the garbage cans and the handicap sign. And then
Mhm.
there's a sill between the garbage cans and the door that's going to be removed. And then there's no sills next to the window next to the door that's going to be removed.
Oh,
Well,
correct.
if you remember what she was saying earlier, Jim, was that was probably a breezeway and then that was like a carriage
Got it.
house.
Okay, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's,
Got it. Thank you.
So that's just
So we're
showing the
replacing this with the whole window.
Got it. Excellent. Thank you. Sorry, I just
No,
I'm
you're
new to the
good.
game. Forgive me.
You're good. Yeah.
Are there
And
any
the-
other comments or discussion from the board? I'm trying to figure out how to get my head around summarizing.
We didn't discuss the mullions yet, but I guess I'm clicking around on pictures and trying to figure out. I mean, I think you're trying to enclose this whole property, right?
Correct.
Yes.
With fencing. I don't see the block wall on the south side. Is it at the end of where
It's
the
this-
old
This
pavement?
one. This is this block wall.
See
Yeah,
that
I
there?
see it.
And it goes
Yeah.
all the way to the back.
And it goes all the way to the east
To the
end
end
of
of
the
the
property?
building itself. Because uh,
Ah,
I know we
Right
have
there.
that somewhere, Marisa.
pardon me?
I know we have that somewhere, how it's not showing up.
I know, and I don't remember
You can
the,
see it, you can sort of see the slice of it there in that first photo, but it comes in that picture where your cursor is, it
it stops at the end of this building
of the
because,
building.
Sorry,
so but how are you going to close the corner off?
Here?
Is there
Yeah.
no
and
the southeast corner?
Yes, there's a decorative iron fence there already that closes it. And then we're gonna take
Okay.
that, the other fence, the security fence is actually coming down and then turning back towards that. I see what you mean.
here,
Okay,
On
so,
the, on the
yeah, so
south
there-
side.
south side.
So Marie,
Oh.
it's on the southwest, the southeast corner. If you pan, well, you're good. Right there. The security fence will come down there, turn the corner
Across.
and then hit the
That
masonry wall.
okay.
You're talking
yeah,
about
thank
right
you.
here, Damon, right?
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Where the
Yeah.
where the little
Yep.
hand is.
Yeah, Marie, so we better clarify that, make sure that that's showing up clear.
Okay. Clarify. Clarify the extents. The DP's in.
Yeah, it's all right.
Yeah,
So I'd be curious what other people's opinions are on the styling of the mullions on the doors and windows.
oh, wrong, it's, yeah, elevations.
That's kind of an Art Deco sort of style.
Think of, it's more, to me, I call it a prairie school or a
Or prairie school.
yeah, craftsman
Prairie
kind of.
Yeah,
I don't love it. I don't hate it.
I don't love it. I don't hate it. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way.
Would you approve it?
Yeah, that good question.
So just so you know what my opinion is, I kind of like it for whatever that's worth.
And one of the
Right.
reasons too, we went with that is the inside is fairly dark. So this was, you know, the less obstructions to the glass that they had, that they really wanted to do that. So that's why.
And these
One of
windows
the
are
reasons
all,
they do it.
yeah, I mean,
I like it. I don't have strong feelings either way.
I don't-
So
I don't
let's say
have it.
I wouldn't disapprove it. Let's put it that way.
I like the style of the windows. On this particular building, I'm kind of, but is like, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, I hear,
Is
I
that
hear
a
you too.
positive memory or a?
That was sort of my lead comment about how we could all have a few drinks and discuss how many styles are, what's
Yeah.
driving the
Right.
dog
Yeah, there's a
But
lot
it's
going
not,
on here.
I would say it's not like radically a bad idea. So, and did I read they're aluminum clad wood windows?
Yes,
yes.
Okay.
just for the longevity, because
No,
if
that's
you
fine.
look at the actual the ones that are original, they're in very, very, very poor shape.
I'm sure they are. Yeah, okay. All right.
So did we hit on everything, right? So we have
No,
the
I want
fence.
to make sure that we come back to the ADA ramps on the
Okay.
Speedway elevation, which is what we're looking at right now. Are we okay with that? I understand why you're wanting it. I'm just asking the board if they're okay.
From an architecture standpoint, I don't think we have the right to refuse it, quite frankly. Even
I think one thing we could talk about is the railings that go with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's the right guidance or not, but I know in the past we've guided people away from attaching railings to the original structure and asked that they be attached to the slab.
The city of Tucson actually required us to put them there.
Like between
Attached-
columns?
Attached
But
to
she-
the structure as
Marisa-
opposed to attached
Pardon me?
to the slab?
Yeah, I think Marie, what Damon is saying is that they wanted a basically freestanding, self-supporting, and so
Oh,
it's not
okay, yeah.
attached to the building. That's not an issue. We can
Oh, yeah,
manage that.
oh, these, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
that
I
was the
think it-
proposal. I'm not demanding that you do that. I want to hear what other people think.
I agree.
No, I
No, I
think
think
that's
So
a fair
you
point.
got a good point. Mason.
Fair point.
Mhm.
Sorry to
agree.
interrupt, but did you see the chat from Jim that he has to leave at 7:30? And if he leaves at 30, you will lose your quorum.
I will stick around. It's just a request.
Okay. I just want to make sure everybody was right. Thanks, Jim.
But
Okay.
if we can wrap it up in
Hey, just go ahead and approve it and let Jim go.
So Randall and Marisa, are you okay with, it sounds like you are, just don't attach those railings to those columns.
Absolutely.
To the
Absolutely.
columns, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that covers that. Got the mullions. Got the
Fence.
windowsills, the fence. I think, did we wrap up on the fence? Are we all okay with the fence?
And I would enter into the record that we're going to remove the 2-foot wall.
We're gonna
And the
remove the
unfit
2-foot
That
wall.
will, that will be part of the motion.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
And
trying to
the
get
fence-
exactly,
And the fence can be 6 feet, correct?
and the fence can be 6 feet.
Do you have
And,
an
Well,
can you go back to
my only
elevation of the fence? That's right here, right, on the bottom corner? Okay, never mind, I'm good.
And the only issue is location of the fence in relation to the curb.
That was gonna be my last thing, so I think I heard, if you go to the site plan, which you don't actually have to do,
Well, let
we're
me-
thinking about,
If I might,
go ahead.
offer
Jim.
that we approve everything but the location of the fence and have them come back, because I don't think that's gonna slow them down from our process perspective. But if it does, then let's chew on it and get it solved. But
Well, I would also say that we're willing to move that. I think 8 feet, Rachel, is a nice number, and I think it works well. We're willing to move it, but I also would like to make a caveat to that we're in a discussion with engineering guys and the zoning guys. That is a topic of our discussion, so we don't know exactly where it's going to land.
Well, then I'd like to maybe move everything that's been discussed as a motion with the location of the fence pending city review and I don't know how to give you the flexibility, or whether we can park that to the side and come back and not slow down the rest of your development. But I guess my point is that you may want to have the fence right up against your columns, or you may want to have it, as you say, 8 feet from the back of the curb. I'm not the architect, I'm not a designer. I don't know what's gonna look best for you.
Yeah,
Well-
we actually went through all of those iterations. We looked at it actually right up against the building, and it wasn't really working the way
Yeah.
it didn't feel
want it.
good. Yeah,
Because you can
and-
get on that slab and jump over the fence.
Yeah.
Basically was the issue there.
That's fine.
Well, okay, so.
I wouldn't pull it up to the building. I think maybe if we can make the motion in terms of we approve the 6-foot height and the removal of the 2-foot stuccoed portion. But we would be open to the fence moving further south.
So maybe I can still wrap this up by 7:30 by moving everything that's Rick's covered, as well as what Rachel just observed.
Right, so,
Nicely done.
okay, Jim, you have a vested
that
interest
count,
in doing this,
Jody?
so go for it.
I would second that if somebody were capturing the motion correctly.
Well, Jim's gonna try, listen, I think I got all my notes here, but go ahead, Jim. Why don't you
Well,
see, make your motion?
Rick, actually, you did everything quite well, and I was just trying to capture it, but we're approving the windows, whatever style they choose, the mullions or not. we're approving the ADA ramps with the railings be attached to the foundation, not the building. We're approving a 6-foot opaque wrought iron wall with no pony wall. And we're approving, well, actually, we're requesting the fence along Speedway to be moved further south to give more pedestrian access.
And approving
I'm
the
missing
doors.
something.
Doors also.
I'm sorry?
Yeah.
There's doors as well, not just windows.
Oh, doors and windows. Thank you. What did I miss? There's something I missed.
I have a question, and I hope I don't open up the more discussion. We have some color samples. Is the color samples?
He's in the
We-
process
we're-
of a motion, Randall, so let him finish the motion and get the
Sorry,
second.
sorry.
Yeah. So I
And,
think,
and we're not gonna weigh in on the color.
yeah,
Okay.
and, color isn't our purview. So that's the extent of my motion. I think I captured it all. Rick, you were taking notes. Did I miss anything?
You implicit, let's just explicitly say that we approve the windowsills as
Yeah.
proposed.
You approve the windowsills as proposed.
All right, so I'm gonna read it back to you, Jim.
Thank you.
We are approving the window and door styles and material as proposed. We are approving the ADA ramps as proposed, with the exception that the railings not be attached to the existing building columns. We approve a 6-foot tall wrought iron fence with no pony wall. And we approve the windowsills as proposed.
Nicely done.
All right.
This is Rachel Sarah.
I even have that
seconds.
written down. Rachel Sarah seconds. Jim proposed, Rachel second. We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none.
Just to answer Randall's question on the record, we're not going to comment on the colors.
Yeah,
Understood.
colors.
Thank you. Thank you, like more ways than just being polite. Thank you.
Okay. All right, I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
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 Motion carries 4-0. All right, guys, thank you so much. I
Thank
really
you. One
appreciate it.
quick
I'm sorry,
question.
I
Are
have
we?
to excuse myself.
Thank you, Jim. I
Jim,
appreciate it.
can you stay for 2 more minutes, Jim?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Will we be able to make the next, I forgot the next hurdle? Can we get onto that for Thursday meeting?
That's up to Jim.
That's just-
I have the schedule and I'll let you know when you can get
Okay.
on.
If entirely possible, please let us know. The client wants to buy the window package because there's some lead times, that's all.
Understood.
All right, well, appreciate it. Thank you very
Thank you
much for your
all.
time.
You're very welcome.
All right,
Thank you.
take care.
Bye-bye.
Okay. I'm gonna try and move us along here, and if Jim's gonna give us 2 more minutes. That concludes item 4. Item 5, staff updates. Jody, staff updates.
Yes, today, this afternoon, the mayor and council voted to keep the commission as a joint commission. That is the only item that they voted on. If there are any other code updates or any other changes, that will be something that is down the road. And we will work with commission and stakeholders to move that along.
Right, okay. So they voted to rescind what they'd said before, and nothing changes until
Nothing.
something changes.
Yes.
Okay, that sounds good. Future agenda items, item 6.
At this moment, I don't have anything for you.
I
Okay.
have a question. Jody, you sent out that email about the training. Is that something you would recommend for people to go to?
Oh, sorry, I was totally rushing through that, but I mean, it's a CLD training. It will be some people, a panel, like SHPO, Phoenix Historic Preservation Officer will be there. I will be there. You are definitely welcome to join. It is a scholarship, so if you attend the CLG training, then they will open up the rest of the conference for you. It's a pretty good conference. They have tours. They have a lot of different topics. I would definitely recommend if you're interested.
Okay, cool. Okay, I'll send you an email later about it. Thank you.
Yeah, and if anybody else is interested and wants to do the scholarship, then just shoot me an email with your name so I can forward that on to SHPO, and then I'll get directions for you after that.
It's okay, Jody, if some of it, if I can make most, but not all of the, because it's 3 consecutive days, right?
No, you have to go every day.
Every day?
second.
Oh,
Sorry,
Every
guys. I think you can
Every-
discuss this
No, no.
off agenda. I've
All
got
right.
to leave. Thank you.
so, all right, so motion to adjourn. Jim's motioning to adjourn. All in favor, aye.
Thank you.
Hi.
Aye. All right, thank you
Thank
all.
you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, have a good night.
Hey, Rick, you don't actually have to attend everything.
No, I know you were
So,
teasing.
They're gonna take roll, and if you don't show up, they're gonna take away your scholarship.